you know that found footage superhero movie that isn't actually a superhero movie at all, but on the surface, it's about like 3 kids that find this weird glowing rock thing underground and they get the force powers and shit. Right, yeah, that movie. Pretty cool, right? But Chronicle isn't just about powers. It's about trauma, it's about ego, it's about the slippery slope between being human and playing God. At its core, the film is a deep dive into the psychology of power, how it warps the mind, how it fuels obsession, and how it exposes who you really are underneath. But there is another layer to the movie, a conscious one, if you will. Yeah, so, because what happens to one of the characters in the film? That's not just a villain arc, that's false ascension. That's someone mistaking control for divinity. That's typically what happens when power is pursued not from wisdom, but from wounds. So, let's talk about it. Chronicle might just be one of the most cautionary spiritual films in modern media. Okay, so let's start with Andrew, right? Before he gets his powers, he's just there, right? Ignored, bullied, beaten. He's stuck in a cycle of powerlessness. His dad hits him, his classmates laugh at him, his mom is dying, and yet he can't do a damn thing about it. So that's what he feels, at least, right? Then suddenly he has his power, right? It's real, it's physical, it's undeniable power. And here's where we get into the psychology, the psychological aspect of the film. Right. Okay, so there's something called compensatory narcissism. It's when someone who spent their entire life feeling weak, invisible, or rejected, and suddenly it gets overcorrected, right? They don't just want to be seen, they want to be worshipped, right? And that's exactly what Andrew feels. That's exactly what happens to him. When he first gets his powers, it's playful. He's laughing, he's floating. Hell, he's moving shit with his mind. But he doesn't just want to have power, he wants to be above everyone else. He starts testing his limits, pushing his boundaries, seeing how far he can go before anyone can stop him. And when no one does, well, he stops pretending to be human. The moment he calls himself an apex predator, that's the moment Andrew stops being a person and starts being an idea. He rewrites his own story. He tells himself he was never meant to be normal. He was meant to be above normal people. And that's textbook birth for a God complex. Now, it is at this point we reach the spiritual warning of the film, right? A lot of people watch Chronicle and think, damn, Andrew just became a villain. And yeah, sure, on the surface, yes, he did, but on a spiritual level, what's happening to him is much bigger than just turning bad, right? Andrew isn't just seeking power, he's seeking ascension. He wants to transcend the life he had, the pain, the suffering. He wants to become something more. Now, this is where things get a little bit eerie, disturbing for me, because when you look at the imagery in the final act, it's almost religious, right? Andrew floating over the city like a fallen angel, his arms stretched out in the storm like a twisted Christ figure, his belief that he's rising when really he's losing himself completely. This is the false enlightenment trap. Andrew thinks he's evolving, that he's reaching some higher state of being spiritually. He's doing the exact opposite. This is the warning Chronicle gives us. Power without self-awareness isn't ascension, it's destruction. True power, true enlightenment isn't about being above others, right? No, it's about being one with them. But Andrew doesn't see that. He doesn't understand that. He mistakes domination for divinity, and that's why he falls. All right, let's bring in Carl Jung for this, right? Jung talks about something called the shadow self. It's like a part of us we hide, basically. It's the rage, the insecurity, the jealousy, all this stuff we don't like to admit that we have. Most people suppress it, but some people become it. They embrace it. They take it in, right? And that's what happens to Andrew. His entire life, he's been told you're weak, you're nothing, you don't matter. So when he finally gets power, he doesn't just use it. He pours his entire shadow into it. Every moment of humiliation, every time he felt small, that's the energy fueling him. That's why he starts hurting people. Not because he enjoys it. No. It's because it makes him feel in control. And this is what makes his fall so tragic. Yeah, this is where it starts. Now, if someone had actually seen him, if someone had truly understood his pain before he snapped, would he have gone this far, right? Really, one of the impactful moments for me in the film were, I think, the first act, the middle act, and obviously the end act. Everything in between those, it's kind of like just playfulness, kind of like fluff, but you can kind of see his mind slowly leaning into a god complex, I guess, reality, you know. Now, then we get to the end. Matt's standing on a mountain, holding the camera, talking to Andrew, even though he isn't there, even though he's gone. And the way he leaves the camera there, it almost feels like prayer, because Matt isn't just talking to his dead friend, his dead cousin. He's talking to a part of himself that could have been Andrew. But that's the thing. Chronicle isn't just about Andrew losing himself, right? It's about how close Matt came to falling too, how close he came to losing himself as well, right? They all had the same powers, they all had the same temptations, but the difference is Matt saw himself as human, Andrew didn't. If you woke up with telekinesis or any other ability, it doesn't matter. What would you do, right? Just vibes and having fun, keeping yourself in check, setting rules, or letting power replace the parts of yourself you never healed from. Because the real message of Chronicle here is, and much like any other test, not everyone passes. Right. That was interesting for me to do. That was a new, I guess, untouched waters, new terrain for me. It was kind of deep a little bit, but honestly, Chronicle deserves it. It's one of those movies that just sticks with you, at least with me. It stuck with me. I was introduced to the film back in like 2012, I think, when the movie first came out with my cousins. I didn't see it with them, but they put me on low-key. And yeah, like, I remember watching the movie first as a kid. That movie lingered in the back of my head for a long time. It didn't leave my mind at all. It was traumatizing the first time I saw it. And then I watched it later on in life with my mom, and like when I was like 14, and she was depressed. So, you know, yeah, it was a little thing. But yeah, what do you think? What do you think? Was Andrew doomed from the start? Or could he have been redeemed had there been someone that understood him, that was there for him, that really was there with him, and he could confide in, right? Someone to help him cope with all the turmoil that was happening in his life. Or, you know, was it just fate? Personally, I don't believe that's the case. But I would like to hear your thoughts in the comments below if you want. I'm not forcing you to, it's free. Besides, it helps me with engagement and everything, so feel free to comment and like and subscribe. All that YouTube stuff, right? But yeah, I love you. I really do. I love you so much, and I'll see you next time. And tell your mom I said hi too, honestly.